All right, let's dive right into this explainer and completely demystify the MQL5 language reference. I mean, if you've ever opened up the official documentation, you already know it can look like a massive wall of dense C++-style syntax. But today, we're going to transform that technical manual into a clear, actionable roadmap for your automated trading. We're going to break down exactly how this language gives you absolute, total control over the MetaTrader 5 platform.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be exploring the MQL5 trading ecosystem, the event-driven nervous system, how to manipulate chart visuals, extracting market data, and finally, trade execution modes. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The MQL5 trading ecosystem. To really build effectively within MetaTrader 5, we first need to look at the high-level tools we actually have at our disposal.
Right at the very beginning of the MetaQuotes manual, there's this great guiding principle. Use algorithmic trading. Automate strategies to work on various financial markets. That really hits the nail on the head, right? Because the whole goal here is to literally take human error, emotional hesitation, and lag completely out of the equation. We want the code executing our exact mathematical models.
To actually pull off this automation, MQL5 basically gives us three main types of programs. Think of them as your trading arsenal. First up, you have expert advisors, or EAs. These are your absolute heavy lifters. They automate the trading rules and can fire off trades directly to the server. Then, you've got custom indicators. These are strictly for implementing analytical functions and custom math. They don't actually trade, they just analyze. And finally, scripts. These are perfect for when you just need one specific action done on demand, like maybe closing out all your open positions with a single click.
Moving on to Section 2, the event-driven nervous system. What's super fascinating here is how these MQL5 programs actually know when to run their code.
It all comes down to the event handler. If you think of the platform as a brain, these event handlers are literally the nervous system. They just sit there in a dormant state, waiting to react instantly to a specific change in the environment. It's an incredibly smart way to manage processing power, making sure your code only fires exactly when it absolutely needs to. It's basically a direct mapping between a market event and the exact function that jumps into action. Take the onTick function, for example. That is the absolute lifeblood of an expert advisor. It triggers the exact millisecond a new price quote is received. But if you're building a custom indicator instead, you're going to rely on onCalculate. And then onDinit is absolutely crucial for cleaning up your workspace if a chart period is changed or your program is unloaded.
To put that into a practical context, when onCalculate triggers for a custom indicator, it gets handed this massive array of deep data based on what the user inputted. You can actually dictate exactly what data it processes. You might set it to calculate based on the close price, or get a bit more complex and apply your math specifically to the typical price or weighted close. The event handler basically funnels all that deep data right into your logic.
Okay, Section 3, manipulating chart visuals. Let's see how all this abstract math actually turns into tangible objects on your screen.
Whenever you're drawing on a chart programmatically, it follows a really logical three-step flow in MQL5. First, you define your coordinates, which means setting your specific time and price anchor points. Second, you use ObjectCreate to actually generate the specific shape or line, but, and this is key, it won't actually show up yet. Step 3 is a must. You have to use chart redraw to literally force the terminal to update and display that new object instantly.
So, your abstract code translates directly into highly specific visual outputs. It's pretty cool. You can map out something super complex, like a 5-point Elliott wave structure based on time and price arrays. Or you can keep it simple and drop some perfectly placed buy arrows right onto the price action. You build the logic, MQL5 handles the visual rendering.
And surprisingly, you have total granular freedom over these visuals. You aren't boxed into just using standard trading symbols. If you utilize the generic obj_arrow and set a custom arrow code property, you can drop practically any Wingdings character onto the chart. You could literally code a giant blue book icon to pop up whenever a specific condition is met. The flexibility is honestly wild.
All right, Section 4, extracting deep market data. Now, to make intelligent trading decisions, your program needs intense environmental awareness.
This is where Chapter 18 of the reference gets really interesting. MQL5 doesn't just let you pull data from the live market, it actually lets you build your own environment using custom symbols. To keep regular data retrieval lightning fast, it's strictly compartmentalized. You use symbol info integer for discrete things like trade modes and symbol info double for floating point numbers like the bid and ask. But if you're creating a synthetic instrument from scratch using CustomSymbolCreate, you literally do the exact inverse. You configure your own market by pushing data in using CustomSymbolSet integer and CustomSymbolSet double. You can even tie it to a symbol formula, so it automatically calculates synthetic prices based on the math of other real assets. And if you ever need to scrap it, just hit it with CustomSymbolDelete.
If we zoom all the way into the tiniest unit of market data, we find the MQL tick structure. It holds a massive amount of detail: time, bid, ask, last price, volume, and flags, all in one single lightning-fast update. Normally, this just flows into your OnTick handler. But keeping with our custom symbols theme, if you built a synthetic market, you are the exchange. You actually have to manage the historical data yourself. You do that by pushing bar data in using CustomRatesUpdate and feeding these exact MQL tick structures manually using CustomTicksAdd. It's basically like playing God with the market data.
Finally, Section 5, Execution and Trade Modes. Having all this data is great, but knowing exactly how your broker executes your orders is the other half of the battle.
You absolutely have to understand the calculation mode for your symbol. The core math for figuring out your profits and your margin changes entirely depending on what markets you're actually trading. Notice how the profit formula for Forex is completely different from futures, which factors in tick price and tick size. Your algorithmic logic has to dynamically adapt to whatever calculation mode is active, or your risk management is going to be fundamentally broken.
And right alongside calculation modes, you need to grasp trade execution. This tells you exactly how a broker is going to fulfill an order. And knowing this is often the difference between a strategy that works and one that totally breaks. Your EA needs to know if it's dealing with instant execution, where it might face requotes, or market execution, where the trade is guaranteed but you might take some slippage. You've got to anticipate the broker's specific rules of engagement. And that brings us full circle. You now have a really solid grasp of the MQL5 ecosystem's anatomy. You know how event handlers spark your logic, how to paint the charts, how to pull deep data, or even create your own synthetic markets from scratch, and how to navigate different broker execution models. All the tools are right there laid out in front of you. So the only question left to ask is, what edge are you going to automate next? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy coding.